Hi, and welcome to Old School Blues Guitar. It is time for our featured chord for the months of July, August, September 2017. This month we're going to take a look at another essential electric blues chord, which is a minor chord. And minor chords are used in acoustic blues, but in electric blues they are often really cool. And so what I'm going to do is just show you in this lesson the basic forms, a variety of different ways you can play a minor chord. Let's start out with the simplest. We'll use the key of A as our reference since it's right in the middle of the neck and it's easy to see. And I'll show you these different shapes in the key of A, but I also want to show you how you can move them around a little bit. For me, the simplest version of a minor chord is a bar chord. And this is one you play by making your first position bar chord in the key of A, and then all you do is take your second finger off and you get a bar chord. And this one is movable. You can move it to a G, back to an A, and so all you do is find the first position bar chord, take your first finger off, and there you have what I call a first position minor bar chord. Another shape that you would use in relation to the bar chords is an abbreviated version of that. And the way you do that, this is the one I use the most, is just use your first and third fingers. And I'm going to take my first finger and still in the same basic position, cover the first, second, and third strings on the 5th fret. And that by itself is a minor. And you can use that. And then my ring finger is going to go on the 5th fret, 7th fret of the 4th string. 7th fret of the 4th string with the ring finger. So we get this, which is really pretty. One thing about minor chords in old blues songs is they create a very haunting atmosphere, almost a spooky atmosphere. And I'll show you some examples of how to use these here in a little bit. So those are the two first positions minor chords that I use the most. Another one that's kind of sneaky, and I just learned about this one not too long ago, is we can play it on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string. And all I'm doing here is taking the D7th chord shape, and I'm moving it over a string, all my fingers over a string, and then I'm playing it at the 9th and 10th frets on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. My first finger is on the 9th fret of the 3rd string. My first finger is there. My second finger is on the 10th fret of the 4th string. My ring finger is on the 10th fret of the 2nd string. That one's easy to slide. I've heard Otis Rush, Earl Hooker use that one. You can slide it. It's a lot easier to slide than this. That one's kind of hard to get a sliding motion on. So what you do is you take your first position and you go down 1, 2, 3, and then put that down. So right there, and that note right there is in the 2nd position blues box for A. So that's a D7. Move it over and down. There's your minor. So if we're in G, 1, 2, 3. You hear that's the same chord. That's a G minor chord. So those are 3 variations on the first position minor chord. Now the 2nd position minor chord, if you take your hand again and you make your first position bar chord, this would be an A. To make a D minor, all we do is take all 3 fingers and move them over one string. And that's not an A minor, that's a D minor. And so I can keep that finger barring because it's getting the 5th fret of the 5th string, which is our D. And I just move those other fingers over. And I've got to get the first string, 5th fret. I got to make sure my bar gets that. And you can hear a pretty cool minor thing going on. And that key, or that shape, you move according to the 2nd position bar chord. So if we're in the key of G, there's my second position C bar chord. I just make that shape that I did over the D, and now I've got a C minor. There's a T-Bone Walker song. I can't remember the name of it, but he does this kind of... And in the middle of it, he does this little riff. Which is kind of neat. And all I'm doing is strumming a G minor, first position. Kind of like that. And then putting my pinky on the 6th note, which is the 5th fret of the 2nd string. And then when the song goes over the 4, he's playing C minor. Kind of like that, instead of C ninth, which T-Bone normally plays. So there's a song. I think that's the only minor key song I can remember offhand of his, and I can't remember the name of it. If I remember it, I'll put it in the tab or something. So anyway, there is the second position minor chord. Now you can play that a different way, and that is simply by taking the bar out of it and just using 3 fingers, like this. And what I'm doing there, I've got my first finger on the 1st string, 5th fret, second finger on the 6th fret of the 2nd string, and my ring finger on the 7th fret of the 3rd string. And there is a minor chord. You follow the same rules as you do with the bar chord. So if you want to play a D minor with that shape, you look for the second position D bar chord and just play right over the top of it. Now this is a really common shape because you can slide it. Magic Sam and Otis Rush both had songs where you have riffs like this. I'm going to go to the key of A. Played something like that. And that's an easy chord shape you can slide. It's also cool for picking. And so that's real common. Now there's another version of that which I don't use just because I never learned it. And that is you can take that same shape and move your ring finger over to the 7th fret of the 4th string and then tuck your pinky. Replace the ring finger where it was on the 3rd string with the pinky. And the advantage of that is you don't have the bar and yet you still get that bass note in there, which makes the chord sound a little more full. And that's just the same rule for finding that as, following the second position bar chord. Now there are some other minor shapes out there that you can use, and for electric blues, just my thinking, I can't recall any others that are used commonly. So these shapes that I showed you here are the ones that you hear the most in recordings by people like Otis Rush, and I mentioned T-Bone Walker, Magic Sam. Those were guys that did a lot of minor chord stuff. Freddie King would use minor chord licks where he would kind of rake up. So remember this shape? So an A, and he'll just use that first finger. He won't worry about the ring finger. And he pulls the pick up toward him and gets the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings while holding that shape. And then he mutes the strings with his right hand palm. That kind of thing. And that's really a minor lick. Magic Sam did that some too. So anyway, there you have, some more chords to add to your vocabulary. If you already knew minor chords, maybe I showed you a couple shapes you didn't think about or know about. And if you're just getting started playing electric blues, minor chords are really chords you need to know and practice and make sure you can play them. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. And I will continue to try to pick out essential chords that are needed for electric blues guitar. And I will see you again in a couple months.